Welcome everybody again. I'm your host, as always, estate and trust attorney Gary Winter from Lawvex, and this is video 3 of phase 3, the final video of our Trust 101 series. If you've watched them all, congratulations. You made it through listening to me drone on about trust administration for quite a few minutes. We try to keep these videos to less than 10 minutes. Some of them have a lot of content, and I even saw one ran up to like 14 or 15 or 19 minutes. So thank you for bearing with us. I hope that this series has been valuable for you. I believe it has. The comments on the videos certainly indicate that it has. But here we are in the third and final phase 3 video. Phase 3, as you know, if you watch the prior 2 videos, is all about distribution. That's the last thing that we do in trust administration. We started out with phase 1, collecting assets, getting installed as the trustee and so forth. Phase 2, liquidating assets, paying bills and all of that. And then phase 3, we're ready to distribute these assets and terminate our trust administration. So in this particular video, we're going to talk about reserves. And first of all, what is a reserve? Well, if you watch the prior video, the second video in, the first video actually in phase 3, I spoke of a proposed distribution plan. And that proposed distribution plan starts with the assets on hand at the end of trust administration, and then deducts for known ascertainable expenses at the time, like reimbursements to the trustee, trustee's fee, attorney's fees, recording fees, things like that that we know are going to be required after everybody signs off. And then I mentioned a reserve, and the reserve is really just holding back a sum of cash. And we might want to do this for the purpose of paying our final expenses. I recommend that you do it, and here's why. So when we complete trust administration, like if I were to complete trust administration right now, it's 2022, I'm going to have to prepare and file 2022 1041, IRS Form 1041, fiduciary income tax returns. Well, those forms aren't even going to be available until early 2023. Sometime in February, those forms are going to come out, and I'm going to need to file my final income tax return in 2023 because we're conducting business, trust business, under our trust tax ID number in 2022. So we are going to have to do another tax return. We're going to have to pay the CPA. We may have some tax. We need to talk to the CPA and find out what the estimated tax is. And we're going to be, sitting on this sum of reserve cash for several months. And there may be, bank fees associated with that, charging you a monthly amount. So we want to think about what might happen in the next several months before we file our final tax return, pay taxes, and then we're totally done. We want to save some money for that purpose. Another purpose of the reserve, and this is something I don't remember if we've talked about, maybe not in the prior videos, but there is a limited period of time within which that someone could attempt to collect a debt from someone who's passed away. And in California, that period of time is 1 year. And often in trust administration, we can get things completed earlier than 1 year. We can go through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And in many cases, we've done it in a few months. In some cases, we've done it even faster. There's some limiting factors in terms of the time period within which a beneficiary has to contest a trust, which if you remember from our phase 1 videos, it's 120 days from when they receive their notice of trust administration. So we generally don't recommend that people distribute assets and wrap things up prior to the 120 days. It's just too much risk. But certainly with a little bit of thought and a little understanding of the bills and the debts of the person that passed, if we feel good, like we know what they had, we know what they owed, and we're very confident about that, then it might be totally appropriate to proceed and distribute the assets prior to the 1 year from date of death limitation. knowing full well that hypothetically somebody could show up, a creditor could show up at any time prior to that 1 year and attempt to collect on something that the person that passed away owed. I don't see it happen very often. It's unusual, but it does happen occasionally. So another purpose of the reserve cash is setting that reserve funding level at some amount that allows for unforeseen expenses and unforeseen creditors. We didn't know that this bill was owed, and sometimes it takes a year before you receive some back tax bill or something else. What we don't want you to do is to distribute everything and have no money left to pay the CPA, no money left to pay the taxes, and then some creditor shows up and now you don't have any money for that. Once you write checks to your beneficiaries, it will be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to receive money back from them. And so be very, very careful about doling out the funds too quickly. Use the process that we talked about in the prior video, showing the accounting, the trustee's report, the proposed plan of distribution, and use this reserve idea strategically to hold back some money for these final expenses. How much should you hold back is kind of a fact-specific question, right? I mean, it depends on how intimately familiar you are with the person that passed away's finances. If you were managing, maybe it was a parent, if you were managing your parents' finances before they passed away and you've done it for years and you know what they owed, you know their credit cards, you know their mortgages, then you probably have very, very little risk of someone showing up to say that your parent owed money that you're unaware of. And so the reserve doesn't really need to reflect that. And you can just hold back maybe a couple $1,000s to pay the CPA and estimated taxes. Talk to the CPA maybe before you set this amount and make sure you can have them kind of do some napkin math and figure out what they think the estimated taxes will be for the trust for your final year. Generally speaking, our trust income tax returns don't have a lot of income. They have more expenses. But some trusts have rental income from rental property or business income or investment income. And there could have been gains on sale. Like if you sold an asset for significantly more than the date of death value, you may have a capital gain, right? So do that sort of thinking with your CPA before you set your reserve and make sure you've got enough money in there to pay the estimated tax, to pay the CPA for preparing the returns, and anything that you think might be out there in the form of a creditor. And really, that is that's all you need to do. Once the CPA has prepared and filed that return and you paid any estimated tax and you're done, you can just take the remaining cash in the trust checking account and divide it on the proportions that you did in your proposed distribution plan. So if you had yourself and two siblings for a third, and a third, you could just take the remaining balance of that trust checking account, divide it by 3, write yourself a check, write your siblings a check, and close that trust checking account. And you are officially done with trust administration. You don't need to do another accounting for the reserve. You don't need to do a formal accounting or an informal accounting. You don't need to send a trustee's report for the reserve. It's generally accepted that you can just distribute out whatever's left over. You've already told them you've got some estimated expenses. If you had a very large expense in the reserve, or if there was a big reserve amount, like $50,000 because you were worried about some creditor showing up, and they actually did, probably would be a good idea to tell your beneficiaries and provide some documentation along with that so they know why the reserve amount was reduced so much. But that can be, using your judgment and, make a good decision and do what you would want someone to tell you, or share what you would want to know if you were a beneficiary of the trust. And I don't think you'll have any problems. So that is it. You are officially done with trust administration. You made it through phase 1 of getting installed as a trustee, providing notice to the people that are supposed to know about it, providing notices to creditors, and getting the assets marshaled into one place, under your name as trustee of the trust, getting those assets appraised so you had that beginning date of death value, and completing phase one. And then phase two, selling some assets, paying bills, paying off things. And then phase three, distributing the assets, providing an accounting, a trustee's report, proposed plan of distribution, actually distributing out the assets with a deed or with checks or with assignments of property, and then finally distributing, using your reserve and distributing out your reserve. So if you've gone all the way through the process, congratulations. You are done. You made it through trust administration and you've gotten your inheritance. So our hats off to you. As always, we appreciate you participating in these videos. Please like and subscribe so that you get notified. We're going to produce a lot more great content around trusts and estates. That's what we do. I don't talk about it in every video. In fact, I don't think I've really talked about it at all, but this is the last one for our Trust 101 series. So I'll share with you the marketing aspect of this. I'm the managing attorney at Lawvex. We're a estate and trust firm in Central California. We have offices in Clovis, Madera, and Santa Barbara, Solvang. So we are an 8 attorney and 14 staff of attorneys and paralegals, and we are a full service estate and trust law firm here in California. So if you've enjoyed these videos and something came up that you felt like was a question or a concern or something that you didn't want to do personally, we would be happy to help you with your trust administration duties, answer those questions, provide education, and get you through the process with some good advice and some excellent service. So thank you again for watching. You can find us at lawvex.com, LAWVEX.com. And again, please hit like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next videos. Take care.